Alright guys, we're back staring at my engine bay, and in this video I'm going to show you how to replace the PCV diaphragm on your Gen 1 B58. And if you just had an issue where your car was like screeching really loud and let out like a puff of smoke, or maybe it smokes when you're driving or idling for a really long time, then this should help fix your issue. Now unfortunately, if you have a Gen 2 B58 like a Supra or a later model BMW, the actual PCV diaphragm is built into the valve cover, so the only way to fix it is replacing the entire valve cover. But fortunately, if you have a Gen 1 B58, it is serviceable, and you can actually replace this cap right here. So you can take that cap off and replace the diaphragm underneath, and that will allow you to get right back to where you were before. Now what's actually happening is the diaphragm that's underneath that cap gets torn, so the PCV valve can't operate properly and direct gases where it's supposed to, and you end up burning a bunch of oil, and that's what creates all the smoke that you see. And if you want to know more than you probably need to about the PCV, feel free to check out my PCV demystified video, and that'll explain everything you need to know about how our PCV system works. But long story short, if you replace that diaphragm, you should completely fix your issue and be good to go. Now this is a video that I filmed a while back, so I apologize because I'm just now looking at it and seeing how bad the GoPro footage is. It's extremely dark, but we're still going to go through it and take a look at it, and you guys will get the general idea. And of course, this is something that is pretty cheap and easy to fix. I have a new channel sponsor, Ross Racing Performance, and they can give you a kit that'll completely replace that diaphragm with a billet cap. And the problem is a lot of people are concerned that if they take the cap off, they could potentially crack the plastic. So this will be a metal cap that's serviceable, and you can replace the diaphragm as many times as you need to in the future without actually, having a risk of cracking that cap or needing to replace it again. So definitely check out their website if this is something that you're interested in. Otherwise, there are plenty of other options out there as well, depending on how much you actually want to spend. Regardless, it's an extremely cheap fix. So we're going to go back and take a look at the video of me swapping out the PCV. And of course, I forgot to speak through the entire video, so I'm just going to do a voiceover of the process, and hopefully this helps you guys out. So of course, the first thing you do is remove the engine cover, and then you're going to want to pick your tool of choice to try to pry this cap off. I tried using this one first because this was the one that everybody recommended, but I didn't have a whole lot of luck with it. But one thing I did learn is that you don't want to try to just pry it up. What you want to try to do is try to get the lip of your tool underneath the cap and kind of pull it out a little bit, because it's going to be snapped in all the way around that cap, and you're basically trying to pull it outwards and over where it's kind of clipped on. So I worked around with this tool for a little while. Like I said, didn't quite get it. There were a couple times where I heard it pop and kind of break past that clip a little, but not a whole lot. So then eventually I tried using a screwdriver to break it free, but that really didn't work either, so I don't recommend trying to get a screwdriver under there. And then finally this tool ended up working perfectly, and it's the one that you usually use to remove like the little push pins on your trim and things like that. And the angle was perfect, and the shape of the bar fit perfectly underneath the valve cover, so I got the right amount of leverage, and you can hear it just pop free easily. And now at this point, hopefully you haven't cracked the cap, so you can just remove it slowly, and the spring will release, and you'll have the diaphragm, and then there's a little plastic piece inside of it that the spring actually rests against. So you can take that out, just kind of leave it by the spring on the valve cover, and then we're just going to work on replacing the diaphragm itself. So here I'm actually looking at the diaphragm, looking for tears. And of course I have the GoPro angled completely wrong, so you can barely see it. But fortunately my diaphragm wasn't damaged at all. I just kind of was going through the exercise for this DIY, but I was just trying to show you kind of how to look around for it. Another thing a lot of people ask me is if the new ones feel like they're worse quality, because we all know they're pretty much coming from China. So I did just kind of compare them, and the OEM one felt just like the new one. The OEM one wasn't thicker, it wasn't stiffer, they both pretty much felt like the exact same part. So I think you're good to go if you get a replacement. So now of course we're just going to put it all back together, and it's just the reverse of removal. So you put the spring back on the valve cover, and then you put the little plastic cap on top, and then you're going to put the diaphragm on. Now I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a trick that I learned from Ross Racing Performance. Matt actually told me about this a while ago, so I thought it was worth a shot. But you have to be careful, because when you put the cap back on, you can actually pinch the diaphragm underneath there. So what I'm going to do is basically line up the diaphragm and put the cap on it upside down, and then put something heavy on top of it just to kind of hold it in place. And we are going to use the engine to actually suck it down into the car. So I'm just going to show you guys what this looks like, because a lot of people can't believe that it's really this easy. But again, I'm just kind of lining up the diaphragm, making sure it's not going to be pinched or anything. And I have this mallet on top of it just to kind of hold it down a little bit. And then we're going to turn on the engine, and you can just see the diaphragm get sucked down into the valve cover. And at this point, I almost couldn't believe it myself, but Matt told me it would work, and he had actually used the same method on his car, and it works great because the vacuum in the engine just kind of sucks the diaphragm in. So now I can remove the weight and flip the cap over. I just make sure that it's all kind of lined up and there's nothing that's going to get pinched, and then you can push the cap back on. Now the cap should snap on that easily. You shouldn't need a mallet or anything to get it all the way down. Just push it on until it clicks, and then you know that it's fully seated. So yeah, that's how you replace the PCV. Obviously really easy and simple once you have the right tools. So hopefully this video helps you out. And if you guys have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.